All right. Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Amsterdam Talk, episode 20, season 2, episode 26. As I've been promising y'all since November about the sports show, here's the sports show tonight. I went and got some cats, that I'm familiar with from the Urban Sports Radio Show that's located in PG County, right?
DMV, you right? You
DMV,
yeah?
yeah, DMV. And, my man Cedric Weatherspoon right here that's outside in Minnesota right now.
That's
So
right.
before we get started, some of y'all credentials before we get started.
I guess I can start. Yeah, with the urban sports thing, we started off with about four of us, but then we subtracted we made it three. So it's Ray, myself, and the homie Will T. All of us went to a HBCU. Rod, we went. Ray and I went to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Will went to Morgan State. So we air live from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know you got West Coast folks or folks in the Central, so I gotta make sure I say East Coast time. But yeah, we talk about most professional sports teams in the DMV. That's the Washington D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, and we cover the Wizards, the Nationals, the Commanders. We do some boxing, local boxing. We've had featherweight champ Gary Russell Jr. on the show. He's like, friends of the show. And his brother Antoine, who's up and coming. We also like started doing this HBCU corner segment where we kind of focus on HBCUs around the country in terms of sports. So we recently we had Lamont, Ray, give me last name.
Germany.
Yeah, Germany. Sorry,
Germany.
Lamont, Germany, and Coach Jimmy. Coach Jimmy, who cover Morgan State sports. So, and we've done that. We've had Norfolk State University basketball coach on the show too as well. So we've pretty much done a lot, but we've been kicking for a long time now. We just finished. We just wrapped up the 500 show like a couple weeks ago. So, but yeah, we out here.
Okay. You course, like you said, we went to Eastern Shore together. Yeah.
Yeah.
They lived in apartment 6. I lived in apartment 5.
I ain't live over there at all, but you know what I'm saying? Listen, bro, I'm a graduate 03. I just want to put that out there, man. I don't need to add too much to what my man Wale already said, but I just want to put it out there that you and me, we at least top 10 in terms of homecoming on the East Coast. We can debate that later because we've been talking a whole lot about who got the best homecoming on our show. And every school swear they got the best one. So I'm just putting that out there. I ain't gonna say we the best. I'm right here with how it is. So top 10 at least, though. Like I said, we can debate that. Yeah. Biggest interview, though, for me, PG County-wise, man, Monty Williams. He's currently the head coach of the Phoenix Suns, probably coach of the year. And then from a national standpoint, interview D-Wade, man. So that was dope. So, yeah, we doing big things. Check us out, man. We on every pod platform, bro.
How I knew G-Ho was going to pop up. The producer, she's from A&T. I knew it was going to pop up. What about you, Cedric?
I'm the opposite of y'all. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so we don't have a lot of HBCUs up this way. But I do have a show. I'm a therapist by trade, basketball player by heart. I play basketball internationally, and I also coach basketball overseas. So I have a lot of experience with climbing the ladder and trying to get to the professional rank. Unfortunately, I did not make it all the way to the top. That's okay, but I'm one hell of a therapist. So I do therapy here in Minneapolis, and most of my folks is pretty much from African American. I work with Black folks, around mental health, and then also I coach youth sports. So I've been coaching youth sports for a long time. My philosophy is the mental aspects of sports and, promoting strong young men and all the folks who have, who I rock with, who run AAU programs. I want to give a shout out to Get Shook Sports here in Minneapolis, run by Donald Ferguson. He just took St. Cloud State Tigers high school team to their first state championship, and his not championship, but to the state Final Four in his first 4 years. Won Coach of the Year, done some phenomenal things, and done some great things with these young people. So I'm here to kind of offer my I would say, expertise and my blend of understanding of the athlete from the mental standpoint, and also as a coach and a player, and just an understanding of the international game.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
Okay. So, I want to start off what you had when me and you were talking the other day when I DM'd you. So now you had the name, image, and likeness of that young high school kid that I think he made what was it, $100,000?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you looked at the video, I think Overtime Sports is running I want to say, not a sports academy for players who are looking to the top high school players in the nation who are looking to extend their career to the NBA.
okay.
You can be 16, 17 years old, and these cats are making money. They're offering big dollars to them. This cat that I posted on our last on the Black Podcast Facebook page, this young man is receiving $100,000. So
Hmm.
here's the catch. They're recruiting these young high school players, paying them good money. A lot of these players are getting exposure, and people are making money off their backs anyway. I get that 100%. But we have to also consider these are young black players. And so, what does this mean? We have to start asking ourselves these extra questions and stop looking at the dollar signs and all these other things that come with this. And basically, this young man, so they take in these young players, they're giving them, education, opportunity to work with the best trainers in the world, opportunity to get exposure. And I'm assuming this program is very lucrative because Jeff Bezos is invested in it. Kevin Durant and a few other NBA players are um, are investing in this program, this overtime program. And then also they pay for their college. They pay college tuition, so they give them some kind of college scholarship, and then they also teach them about financial literacy. So that's on paper, this is a great opportunity for players. But what I want to pose to our panelists is like, what are we missing here? Because what we see is this is a very sweet deal for these young players. And I put out a statistic on the page on my other Facebook page that we know the statistic of people making in the NBA is one in what 33,000,
Something like that. Yeah.
something like that. And so, is this a dream? Is this a realistic dream? We know once players get paid, they get they get paid. They're considered professionals, so they can't go back and go to college and then work their way up through the ranks and get that type of exposure by college coaches and getting able to mature as they go through college. So that's the piece that's missing out. And then the other piece is, what about those players who get hurt?
Right.
What do you do with them? What about those players who may not, fit the bill? They hit the wall. They start out great young, but then they're not so good. Where do those players go? It's so many unanswered questions there. And, I think as a community, we have to stop and pause and think and start to look at where these programs are going and where we're going in sports. And so, so I'm posing to folks, we have to stop and start thinking and quit looking at the bells and whistles and all the shiny diamonds and looking at some young kid jumping through the roof dunking and really ask ourselves a real question. What are we buying into? What are we sending our kids into?
Right. Right. So y'all want to piggyback off of that?
I mean, I can't. It all depends. It's all dependent on one. I feel like when we're talking about grading out a kid, like saying they level out, right? Once you get into your expectations should never be, and this is people in life. You should never just have. I'll go all in on one thing. You know what I mean? There's always should be a backup, right? You know what I
Right.
mean? One is your passion, but you should always have like a backup. You know what I mean? So I would say just as a community or as even if your parents are out, your parents are raising you or raise you correctly, whatever it may be. I'm not trying to judge anybody's parenting, but just make sure that your child has a mindset of not just knowing that you need to have a backup. You know what I mean? I know it sounds good, but that's the truth. You need to have a backup. So when you do get in a situation where you may not be as good as somebody else, or you just level, or you're just at a particular level, it is what it is. Now you have something to fall back on, because especially in basketball, think about it this way: you go from high school being all in this area, say you're all Met, and then from all Met you're going against folks who are all Americans going to college, and all Americans go from that point. You have a bunch of conference MVPs or conference outstanding players of the year. Now they're in the NBA. So now you're going against the best of the best. So eventually it is going to level up. Like, it's going to level up to a point where your game is at. So to me, you're going to have to be taught to have a backup plan. You know what I mean? Just have a backup plan. So that's one. In terms of, like, I know a lot of people, a lot of parents are like, we look as a society just sports, right? Like sports. A lot in terms of our people. A lot of times it's sports is going to take us over the top. We don't teach a lot of folks to now be doctors, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? We don't prioritize it. Not everybody, but that's like the theme going on. So it's a point of, like you said, trying to teach secondary traits or make it a first trait. You know what I mean? Like, to be that focus on that state of mind. And then second, and also, and last but not least, since it was an HBCU show, teach everybody about community. You know what I mean? Like your people. You know what I'm saying? Because your people will put you through situations where these big schools won't. You know what I mean? Because they care about you as a dollar sign. So your people gonna push you through. You know what I mean? So in terms of that, because we see college sports as a business. It's not real. It's a business. You know what I mean? They don't care about you. They care about what you're going to do for them. You know what I mean? And as an athlete, you're supposed to look at it the same way, to be honest with you, a college athlete. But in the grand scheme of when things aren't going good, they don't care. They don't care about you. When you hurt, like you mentioned, they don't care about you. You can't help them. They're looking for the next recruit, the next transfer. There's a transfer portal that's jumping. They're looking for that. They ain't looking for you. You know what I mean? But if you're if you at a HBCU, you're gonna get that family. You're gonna get those coaches caring about you. You're gonna get these coaches having that extra. You know what? Don't worry about it. We got you. You know what I mean? They're not worried about the next person. They're worried about growing you in this university and growing you to make you a better person. I think that's the first and foremost. So I think those are things we have to tackle. But I agree with you. I mean, when you go to big schools, though, that's going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, they don't care about you, a dollar sign. That's what you are. You're a dollar sign. It's how you can make that university money. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate for the kid because, once you get drenched in that institution, because when you play sports, in the college sports, not professional sports, you play college sports. At the end of the day, once you lace up, I don't care what sports you play. Like, in that room, you care about the purity of the sport. As a college kid, I don't care what anybody tells me. As a college kid, you care about the purity of the sport. Right. But unfortunately, the institution doesn't care about the purity of the sport, so which is different, and that's what kind of messes with a young man's or woman's mind.
It comes down, like you said, as a business, like the purity of the sport, because we're there at college. We loving this game. Like, you can see the emotion, all of that in the NCAA tournament. You can see the emotion. Yeah. But like you stated, I get hurt. We don't care. It's about how much dollars that we can sell. Who's the next person we can put on the court? Who's the next Armand Baycoat? Who's the next Jordan Davis? Who's the next Chet Holmgren? Yeah. Who's going to fill these? Who's going to put asses in seats? That's what they care about. And when you talk about this name and image and likeness, which, the O'Bannon brothers started back in like 97, I look at those guys like culture changing teams, like the Fab Five. You know how much money they would have made? Yes. This was going on. That the Fab Five, that Running Rebel team, that Miami Hurricanes team, Derrick Rose, Zion Williamson, is anybody else missing? That was
Allen Iverson made so much money.
Carmelo,
Allen Iverson, you got it. Michael Vick,
Yeah.
uh,
Made some
Cam
great
Newton, is how much they missed out on the likeness.
Yeah.
So, but when I say even though we're getting paid, but I want to ask this question because I talked to some of my people about this. Now that you're getting paid by your name, image, and likeness, does it dumb your hunger down that you don't need to make it to that next level? Because you got a kid at Alabama already who's a millionaire and never touched the football field for Nick Saban, who's going as a quarterback. Does it dumb my hunger down?
Well, that ain't. I think we have to look past the sport and look to how where it all started. We started sports as a developmental how you develop character and how you develop kids to work together as teams. Like when one of the things I want to say about adolescents is adolescents are their main drive is their peer group. And so, it's never about, although money is on the table, that has less value than it is by than being accepted by their peer groups. So we got to look outside of the sport. The sport's going to be the sport. You can't teach a person's passion. I went to a small school in the middle of a farm country in North Dakota, and tore it up, and I got to play overseas for like 10 years. I had a professional career up and down for 10 years. Nobody never would have knew anything about me. So but that all came from passion and the love of the game. But as a kid, you give me $100,000 at 17 years old, guess what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to entertain my friends. It's going to be, I'm going to get all the shiny trinkets. So I think we have to look deeper than the sport when we're talking about offering our kids this opportunity. So what I want to say, because I played overseas, I get the model that they're trying to pull. They're trying where they're trying to pull it from. They're trying to pull from the overseas model where you can get a young player and then develop them through develop them, put them through the pro ranks and develop them as a pro, so they can be competitive at a higher level and make the big dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You have
But
that.
the problem is
R.J.
the
Hampton, LaMelo. You have that.
so the problem with our folks is it's like our system is not equipped to develop players like that because it's always an all or nothing thing. So if you take that all or nothing out of that and say from the ages from 17 to 21, you still have the opportunity to go back to school. You still have the opportunity to play at the collegiate level. So you're offering multiple pathways so these kids can have a way out. My concern with this model that they're trying to adopt, it's like, yeah, we want to create this thing because these kids aren't getting paid for their likeness, but that's not what it's about. It's about creating a industry so people can make money, and only a few kids going to get that status, going to get paid $100,000. What about the kid he's a wish upon the star? They bringing him into the system, and he's not what they crack his what they expected him to be. A la what's his name, Brown? What's his name, Kwame Brown? If you want to look at an adolescent coming into a grown man situation, Kwame Brown is a great example of that. And he has spoken out, although some of his stuff has been pretty harsh, but he's speaking to his experience as an adolescent man, dealing with these men who are equipped to deal with the pressures of the NBA, the same type of pressures that, we're putting on these young NBA players. Now we're going to bump it down and put it on our adolescent folks. And what does that do, to our people who can be our strongest creative folks? And that takes them out of our community and put them in a different realm, and it doesn't allow them the personal development that they can get. Because you give me $100,000 as a young 17-year-old, 16 or 17-year-old, you think my mama gonna be able to tell me what to do? Especially depending on where I'm coming from. And given now, not given our mentality, listen to your parents. Everybody ain't about this generation may not be about that. It's like I got $100,000. I can move out here and get my own house. you know. So those are the things that we have to kind of consider when we talk about adopting these programs and these and I feel like we should require them to add a little bit more for these kids. If you're going to do it, make sure that you understand what's at stake for these kids.
Okay. I got you on that. What's at stake? But that money that you're putting in a 16, 17-year-old hand, that's life-changing money right there.
$100,000?
No, but that's life-changing money to where you coming from. That can be life-changing situation depending on where you coming from. If you're
who can spend $100,000 in less than a minute?
I mean, anybody, depending on what you're buying. But if you got a person that's like very, very impoverished, and you saying, here's $100,000 coming in, this is only the beginning. Because if I get to where I'm going at, and I actually improve upon what I'm doing, especially if I'm in a sport like football, where it takes 3 years for me to leave, you know how much money I'm going to, pour in for them 3 years is life altering a situation. But what I was asking you, does that take away your hunger now? Because I didn't got 100K up front. So is it like, I don't want you shaking your head, Ray? So
no, I just don't think overall it's going to dumb down your hunger, for the simple fact that between AAU and the collegiate level, these college and just semi-pro athletes, they're doing everything else but getting paid. So to me, if you're already used to being a standout, if you're used to getting a lot of attention, if you're used to keeping a schedule where you have to, set aside time for media, for practices, and for class, you already balancing everything that an athlete has to balance, then why not add the money piece? Of course, that's going to help, but I feel like it's going to be examples of people who may mess that situation up, and they may take the money and start chilling. We seen Lenny Cook when he got paid, what happened. There's always going to be examples, but at the same time, with schools and the NCAA trying to avoid another Shabazz Napier situation where he's saying, I'm hungry at night. He won the national championships for UConn at that, but he ain't have food. I think it's a good movement, and it's not going to dumb down their hunger, for the simple fact that, again, this is what they're used to doing. They're accustomed to. The AAU schedule is crazy alone. That's just at the amateur level. So as these guys grow, the more responsibility is added, and I think you got to add the money with it, and it just comes along the territory now, and they're used to it.
And I'll say this much about the whole hunger thing. A lot of these dudes, I mean, just keep it a buck. A lot of these dudes getting paid more than $100,000 anyway. Some of these dudes are getting paid more than $100,000, regard, and they were still balling hard. You know what I mean? The ones you watch often was getting that bread early. You know what I mean? Like early.
I mean, I get all that.
You know what I'm saying?
Neighborhood drug dealers.
They was getting that money. LeBron didn't go to college, but LeBron just lets you know that folks are getting money. LeBron got like a $90 million deal
from Nike
for Nike off the jump. So you telling me? So I'm gonna keep this about you telling me Chris Webber was already. I mean, regardless of what came out, but this is before the dude that called him whatever. But Chris Webber, when he came out of Michigan, was like that dude. When he came to me, he was that dude. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? That before they went to UNLV, enough said about that whole squad. So like these dudes are hungry because to me, like Ray mentioned, like the AAU, and I'm gonna talk basketball, just the basketball. It might go football, but basketball, like I feel like kids in basketball going to the NBA, they go into that culture of the NBA, and that's when the purity of basketball changes a little bit. In college, you still got the purity of what they've been doing throughout their basketball career. Like AAU, they still got the love of basketball. They just get paid for it. Like they still got that real love, because college, at the end of the day, it's an environment of which when you're with your peers, your age group is still relatively the same. You know what I'm saying? Like you relate to everybody, and you relate even when you're on that court. You relate to most of those folks on the court. When you go into the NBA, you got grown men. Like you were grown men. So it's different. Like they can change you in a locker room with dudes who probably 10-year vets. They can change your game, your whole mentality. You know what I'm saying? Because you looking up to them, and they're going to change how you view basketball to a certain extent. So some keep that pure innocence of ball throughout. Some get changed in that process. Again, it's because what you around, you tend to kind of emulate, right? When you around it. When you in college, you got that college vibe. I don't care what field you're in or whatever you're in. When you're around your peers, you get a little amp. You know what I'm saying? You're a little
Mhm.
comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's the thing. I think in sports, when you're in college, you're in that environment. That won't change. It shouldn't change that much. Like Ray said, you're gonna have people. To your point, like you're gonna have some people that's going to probably lean on the money, and they're gonna change their drive a little bit. But that, to me, to be real with you, they ain't cutting it. They ain't cutting it anyway. If they that person, they're not gonna cut it anyway.
Got you.
I know the work that I've done with I do like work with athletes all the time around college, top level college
Mm-hmm.
athletes around their just the mental aspect of being a high level player.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I teach them about is compartmentalizing.
Mhm.
You know, we go through these rituals of when you put on your uniform, you know, you take a deep breath and you saying, okay, I'm in another zone. It's entertainment. This is a world, just a world, a different world and refuge. In basketball, man, you can be fast, aggressive, it's flashy, it's moving, it's fast moving. So it's a great opportunity for young people. We're talking about the youth. It's a great opportunity for youth to learn how to problem solve, how to watch the clock. I
Mm-hmm.
teach them stuff about where are you in time and space, teaching them about that. And so I can get, as an athlete myself, I got to a point mentally, it was playing basketball was meditative. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even about the game. It wasn't about the money. It was about, man, I don't hear nobody, and it's just me out here doing me. And my whole it was so much of an intense experience. It's hard to describe, and not many athletes get to that level where they can mentally be at that level. But what I'm also saying is, a part of that identity and compartmentalizing is when you take off that uniform, who are you? Are you still that athlete who walk around and being brash and bold and with the ego? Or are you back to, I would say Lil Said from Sixth Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
You know, which one are you got to take off the cloak? Because we have to consider when we're talking about adolescent likes to they're in identity development. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you play with that and you give somebody a god type figure and they're not mature enough to navigate that, then it's anything can happen, including kids going into depression. You look at, I got another friend of mine who's a psychotherapist at the highest level, and he talks about, the mental side of how these kids today, they need the mental support to deal with the pressures of being in the NBA and dealing with the pressures outside of just playing basketball on the court with social media. The media is so many things coming at these kids, the ranking system. What if your ranking drops down to number 100 and you were number two? That's a direct attack on a person's adolescent's identity. That person may not be able to process all of that, and we can't look at one situation or one person and say, okay, it's fine. This person's going to be making all this money. They should be good. We have to look at the emotional well-being of players, and making sure that if they're in any program, it could be a high school program, AAU program, or a basketball academy, that they're taking care of these kids' emotional as well as their physical well-being. That emotional well-being is key for adolescents. And yes, you can put on the mask and say I'm a beast on this court, but when you get outside, it gets dark and it gets lonely, because especially when you're at the top of your game, that's when the loneliest place you want to be. You don't have a lot of peers. You don't have people around you. So that opens up opportunities for you to get into other things that may be detrimental to your career or your focus.
So okay, we got to that part, but I want to talk about like injuries, and we sticking with basketball about playing so many games with the AAU system now, where it's like high school AAU tournament. And now by the time I get to college and when I get to the pros, I got so many miles on my body, I'm broken down. So like, how do you feel like, so the person say, okay, coach, I'm going to play high school and I'm sitting the summer out, I need to let these knees rest or whatever rest. So you think that should happen, or just keep on continuously playing, and then when you're 22, you're like kind of broke down?
Ooh, Zion Williamson comes to mind as soon as you said that, because apparently that's what's been the case with him. He's had so many games, so many miles put on his legs, and of course, playing at that size and that stature, it's hurt him now early in his pro career because he's already been on the court so much. So that's a tough one. I think somebody like Zion and his family could go back to high schools and talk to young people about what to do and what choices to make and how to pick and choose. Because from what I understand from a coaching perspective, the coaches in the high schools, they come seek you out. You don't even have to seek AAU out. If you can hoop, they're going to find you and they're going to press you. And they're going to make all types of promises and offers. And that's going to be hard to navigate. I would tap into a dude like Akil Carr. Remember all the attention he got, the Crime Stopper, bro. He was offered $1 million in 11th grade. People don't even remember that. And his mother and father was like, nah, this is too much, too fast. Let's pump the brakes a bit. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like somebody like that who had that experience and then was kind of undecided, didn't go to college, went overseas, ended up bouncing around. Him, Zion, guys who've had that experience and go back and speak to what kids can do and provide that guidance and then help, younger guys or younger kids make an informed decision.
Well, one thing about him, I played against his brother, and me and his brother is cool, Alan. And when we spoke about that, it was just Kill when he went up to Seton Hall. It was something about Baltimore that just brought him back. It was like, I'm homesick. He went and I think he played with Tim. We went to school with Tim. He played with Tim in Halifax. I just got to go home. He was so homesick. That was one of the things with him. But I remember all the Crime Stopper, $1 million, all of that. It was amazing. His thing was, I'm homesick. Like, he couldn't stay in New Jersey. I'm homesick. He was running back and forth. And even when he played for the D League at that time, the seven, whatever,
Philly. The Delaware Blue Coats is what it was called. Then when he played with him.
After practice, he would run home. And we're like, yo, what are you doing here? Oh, he had just had a baby. I'm here to see my kid. I'm back and forth. And coach was like, you can't do this.
Right.
You got to stay. So.
Well, I think injury, like 160 games, like I know a kid who played 160 games this year. It brings to mind Reed Travis. I don't know if y'all know who played out at Stanford and transfer. I'm close to his family. Great dude, great personality, and had knee problems, man, injury problems, man, and it's unfortunate because he was such a talent as a young player. Just watching him play for Howard Pulley, but it's always this push for a lot of these players to get out there and play more games. And if you ever went to an AAU tournament, and you don't pay one fee to get in, man. We have to pay. My son right now play AAU. You pay $10. You're gonna pay $10 first day, $10 the second day, $10 the next day, and you're gonna have to pay the fee. And so, what I've said for my son, and he's up and coming. He's in the 7th grade, but I said, we're gonna pick and choose which tournament. If we get to that level, we're going to pick and choose which tournaments you play in. There's no need for you to play 160 games. Play in the top tournaments, get your exposure against the top talents, and call it a day. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do mental training for you, and then make sure you're mentally strong and be able to, handle the adversity of playing the game. And we're going to get you a strong trainer to make sure those ligaments and those muscles and all the things you're getting the rest that you need and getting the nutrition. I think that gives you the better bang for your buck if you do it that way. I mean, if I, as a parent, that's the pathway I'm taking. I'm not going to let my kid be somebody's meal ticket by paying 160 playing $160 a game. That's just ridiculous. Your body can't hold up to that, and especially when you're talking about playing at the next level. And if you play in college and then you go to the NBA, a lot of pounding goes on your body and your back. You want to reserve yourself. You don't want to plateau too early. And that's what's happening to a lot of these kids. They start out great, but they plateau. And then they get injured, and then they never recover back from the injury because their body is all beat up.
Right.
Harry Giles, another one that came to mind too.
Yeah,
Y'all remember
Giles,
him?
yeah.
Harry Giles.
Yeah.
Quinn Cook got hurt again playing too many games. That's why I said I feel like these guys can offer so much insight. John Moran could go to them and say, "I played with Zion in AAU, but I ain't have to play as much as him." You know what I mean? And I ended up going to league pick number 2. So you just never know. It depends on who people trust and who they willing to listen to.
You read my mind, Ray, because that was a person I was getting ready to bring up, and he's getting nagging injuries, right now. He's getting nagging injuries. So it's like you just said, I'm playing, like you said, I'm playing 168 games. Like, where's the parent step in and say, we're going to, like you just said, my son going to play this tournament and this tournament. You got to sit because you're watching Jai at what, 22? I mean, what is he, 21, 22? Mm-hmm. And these injuries are adding up like crazy. I'm like, I really don't know what to say. And Ray brought up Zion and Giles and Cook and these injuries add up.
I ain't a fan. I'm not that much of a fan of AAU basketball too. Sir, I think there's too much going on with it. I mean, I'm a boys and girls coach anyway, so I'm always like AAU is just so much. I mean, because I haven't had a bunch of kids who play AAU. The way they do it is different, like than we were younger. It's like nowadays, if a coach sees a player, hey, they just snatch him quick. It's not even a process of paying or whatever. They just let him play for them regardless. Hey, play with us. It's not even a paid process. There's no due or nothing. They'll just snatch him and play. If that kid is that good, it's like it's like a kid could be on and literally in a tournament, a kid can literally be on like 3-4 different teams within certain tournaments because we may not. So say this team gets eliminated by a particular team, then that team's like, oh, let's snatch him for another game or something. It's happened. Like the way they do AAU is like different from what we saw when we were younger. When we were younger, it was different, but now it's like it's its own monster. You know what I'm saying? So these kids are really putting in the work, like the mileage and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But I'm all about, in terms of basketball, I want all the kids who work hard to get the fruits of their labor. You know what I'm saying? Like. I want that. I want that for all kids who hoop and whatnot. But they do put a lot of work in, man. Like they play nonstop. They pros early, man. They really are. They're pros early.
So do you agree with KG? I believe it was KG what he said years ago, like AAU was messing up the game?
I think so. I mean, I feel all right, this is my thing. It's like to a certain extent because how it's filtering into like universities and even high school sports, but to me more universities because there's a reason why college basketball isn't the same in terms of star talent staying like we used to see when we were younger. Like these kids' mindsets are different because of like the AU circuit because they got business mentalities early. Like it's early, you know what I'm saying? If you see that all these coaches coming at you and saying we want you to play consistently, you know what I'm saying? And we talk about multiple different teams, you know what I'm saying? Like Mike Beasley, who is like it around here, playing on a whole bunch. He was treated like property. Y'all saw the thing on the pivot, like that was real. Like he wasn't lying. Like he was property. I mean, they didn't look at him as a person. They looked at him as like, yo, you gonna put us on. Like it wasn't about Beasley the individual. Like these kids have to learn to be pros early. So the mindset of basketball, in terms of and we talked about the purity and the innocence of it, it can get jaded when you get treated that way. You know what I'm saying? It can get jaded. So, like, so it's a trickle-down effect. And so I think that it has ruined basketball to a certain extent for some of these coaches. But it's all predicated on the coaches because in that situation, because you are molding young men and women, like young men and women. You are molding them. So if you're not treating them right or teaching them lessons on and off the court, then, yeah, you're hindering their progress as basketball players in any level, because you gotta have synergy. You gotta have synergy off the court and on the court to be the best player person you need to be. Because you happy off the court, you pretty much gonna play. You're gonna play happy basketball on the court.
Well, we know that NBA teams, everybody can play.
Yes,
You were talking
definitely.
about top tier players. Everybody got games
Agreed.
from 1 to 15. Um, and what a lot of these kids they don't understand is the NBA, the way they select their players, is like a puzzle. So who can fit in the puzzle? You might score 50 in high school and in any other league, but the NBA, they say we just only need 10 and 5 from you.
Yeah.
Are you willing to play that role? And where a lot of folks struggle, like young players struggle, is like, man, you're holding me back. I can't produce like I want to produce. But if they're saying, hey, I'm gonna be 20 million, all I need is 10 and 5. You're the extra. We got our score. We got our Westbrooks and the LeBrons. We don't need you to be that. We need you to be 10 and 5. And so that takes a lot of it takes mental capacity and maturity to be able to say, I'll play this role and be okay with it. And I love what you're saying. It's like the sport was about developing young players. And I think what we have to be conscious of is like it's changing.
Yeah.
It's changed so much since I was in high school eons ago. But it's like we're talking about folks are building businesses off of youth sports. That's free. No one's necessarily getting paid by these AAU teams.
Uh-huh.
So it first started with the NCAA, doing their deal, and they done made as much money as they possibly can. They got sued. Now they got to pay the players. Now we then shifted it to youth sports. When is it going to stop? When is it going to stop for our community? Because most of those kids who are stars, they're black. Most of those teams are black folks. We cannot not see that. We can't let that situation happen and not protect our kids. As a community, we have to stand up and say, you know what, we get to say how this stuff goes. You don't get to come in, throw your money around, and then exploit us, and then wear our kids out, and then we have to pick up the pieces and send them to somebody like me who's a therapist and say, okay, no, John didn't make the AAU team. He ain't at the top of his game now. He's depressed and his game's going down. And his coach has set him at the end of the bench and threw him away. Now he's like, okay, he needs therapy now. That's not fair. It's not fair to our community because John could be the person who owns the team. He can be the exec. And that's one of the things that I was saying about this situation too. You're teaching them how to money management. Why don't you teach them how to own the team and how to manage the team? There's more money in that than dribbling the ball up the court. You could play and own the team. If you own the team, you could start every game. So we have to promote that part of our youth development and say, why do you want to play? You want to play to be famous and the people to like you, or do you want the real bag? Because the real bag is sitting up in the box seats while you running up and down. If they could pay you $200 million, can you imagine how much that person sitting up in those box seats are making? And they only injury they're gonna get is when they fall down from having too many drinks to celebrate. And then they got somebody right there to pass them up, and they don't even have to. They don't have to worry about playing 100 and something games. So we have to promote that piece as well as using your natural talent. And I know, like and here's another area that I looked at too. The NBA is changing. So that guy from the hood ain't really had nothing and struggling coming up and now making his dream come true. That's not the story no more. Have you ever paid for AAU basketball? That's $5,000-$6,000 right there to be on a good team.
Uh-huh.
And that's not counting airplane fees and all those other things that come with that. So the NBA player, the typical NBA players now, I've done some research on that, is upper middle class folks. It's barely folks who are coming up from the bottom. Every now and then you get somebody who's coming up from the bottom that make it through and have a story. The dynamic is shifting underneath our nose, but we're not paying attention. We're looking at the clouds. It's like, no, we want the kids who's out here struggling and having a hard time trying to make money. We want them to have an opportunity too. Where do they get their opportunity?
Right.
Yeah, go to HBCUs, man.
And that's what
Amen.
Go to
Hey,
I was getting ready to
HBCUs.
shift to
hey,
right there. I was getting ready to shift to that nature right there, Wally, with this our whole NIL deal that's coming in. And we've all known the Nick Sabans, the Dabo Sweeneys, the Urban Meyers. They get the top talent that they get. So now, since there's money being spread all across the board now, and we just watched Dion snatch Travis Hunter.
yeah.
Is this what's get ready to happen, that we get ready to go back to where we used to be, where we were in the SWAC and where we were dominating in those HBCU conferences and then going pro? Is this what's get ready to start happening again?
Yeah,
It's
Ray, you
already
want to tackle this,
happening.
bro? Go ahead, Ray.
It's already happening, brother. It's just a matter of time. And Dion is the most popular name right now. But I just want to throw out there Reggie Theus, former NBA player. He's the head coach of Bethune.
Right.
It is so many people who are heading this direction. Tyrone Wheatley, he was the head coach of Morgan. I mean, the names are there. Once you get the people involved, the right people, Chris Paul is another name who's heavily now invested into HBCUs. You're going to see more young people start to gravitate toward, like my man said earlier, people that look more like them, people that reflect their culture. Like I said, we're in the midst of it now. And it's crazy because we haven't even reached a point where it's as big, nearly as big as it's going to be. But this is just a start. So it's definitely coming. And the more resources coming to the universities, again, the more dollars. And you talked about homeboy earlier being homesick. It's going to be easy to stay close to home unless you live in Minnesota and you got to travel on this side to hit HBCU or something. But yeah, I mean, I totally see it coming. I saw it coming about 2 years ago, man. And as I mentioned, we did a pod earlier. You'll be able to check that on YouTube later. I just want to make a plug. But it's important for these young guys to know the history. So many individuals who went to HBCUs, man, they went pro back in the 70s, you know what I'm saying, the 60s. It was prevalent. And as with everything, just like the haircuts you see today, things recycle, the styles, everything comes back to full circle. That's what I want to say. So yeah, it's coming. We're here now, but we ain't even seen how big it's going to get. Dion is just one small piece of what is going to be just a larger movement.
You forgot about Eddie George. He's coaching.
Eddie George,
Yeah.
Eddie
Hugh
George,
Jackson,
again, Hugh Jackson. It's a lot. I mean,
It's a lot,
definitely,
man.
man.
It's a lot, man. It's just
Mo Williams.
Right.
yeah.
Mhm.
Facts. It's a lot, man. I mean, I feel like the trend is happening. You just hope it. I mean, what's happening? And I won't call it a trend. The whole thing is that I hope it's not a trend. You know what I'm saying? I hope it's going up. I don't want it to be like trendy. I don't want
Right.
it to be trendy. I want
Right.
it to be something that everybody is cognitive of just having this thing be something that you don't have to go to the big schools. I mentioned earlier, you don't have to go to a school that doesn't care about you as the person. I mean, as a person, they care about you as monetarily. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Right.
That's how they was what they think of you. But you go to a HBCU, one, you're bringing that school. You will be if you were a player like I'll use an example. If you're like Carmelo Anthony, right? You go to like Morgan State, you're gonna automatically bring that school money, right? You're gonna bring that school money, but also what you're gonna do is that you're gonna have a certain level of likeness because people are going to gravitate towards you because not because you Carmelo Anthony. That's not just going to be it. It's because you come from the same background they come from. You look like them. You know what I'm saying? There is an automatic sense of community with that. You know what I mean? So that's something that you'll never lose. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, with what's going on in college sports, knowing that kids can get paid and what they can do for the university and what the university can do for them and whatnot, and sponsors they can take in. I feel like what, it's the best time for this to happen. Now, granted, the bigger schools have more money and this, that, and the other, but if you are a particular kind of player, I mean, there are about 5 players who are just special off the break. You can go to HBCU and still kind of make money on your side deals and still, feel like you can do some work and help your own community. I'm all about helping the community, man. Like, and when you go to an HBCU, especially as a basketball player, there's a lot you can do to help your community and just, go in there even for a year. because your whole game plan may not be there to be there for all four. You know, I'm a realist.
I'll throw you two names out there.
Huh?
I'll throw you two names.
Go ahead.
Both Howard, R.J. Cole and Marcus Maker.
Yeah, like it can happen. Like you can do it. It can happen. You can make bread for that 1 year. I mean, you make school some bread for that 1 year notoriety. And the whole thing is that if you get that team to the tournament, right? You win a couple games, get to Sweet 16, get to Sweet 16, get to Elite 8, and shoot, you can get to the Final Four. Amazing. You know, what does that do for that school? You know what I'm saying? What does that do for that school? And then you're already big time. And I'm gonna put it this way too. We talked about. I think someone mentioned John Morant, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Morant went to what school?
Murray State.
So it's a what? It's a mid-major. It's not Duke. It's not Kansas. It's not North Carolina.
You got Steph Davidson.
You know what I'm saying? Steph Davidson is another example. But if they didn't get a John Morant, then no one really. And John Morant, when he came, no one was trying to recruit Ja like that for real. Right. You know what I'm saying? Murray State was one of the only ones that really gave him that's the full ride. And look how he made it out. So I'm just saying, you get talent like that. If you can find a John Morant, and my point is, you can find a John Morant in Murray State. Then I'm telling the kids out there who are thinking about, thinking about an HBCU, if they can find John Morant, they can find you.
Well, they can find you. What was young boy name that played for VCU, the point guard? He wound up playing
Eric Maynor.
Maynor. They found Eric Maynor. So I'm just saying, if you can go to these schools, you know what I mean, you can make it. Dwayne Marquette was nothing. Marquette wasn't not that. Wasn't like that for real. At all. Exactly. Dwayne Wade gets to the Final Four, and look, you know what I'm saying. My boy played against Dwayne Wade in DePaul, and he said he was always nasty, but he wasn't going to be a lottery pick until that run. Now Marquette went to the Big East. They've made money. That they're living off of Dwayne Wade. You know what I'm saying? What he did. So I'm just saying, like for HBCU, you get a player with some cachet. They come in. They do work. They can flip it. So I'm just saying, like, I just want to make sure that these kids out there let them know that the opportunity of going to a HBCU and what they can do for their community and their schools could be something special, and they would have a legacy for it.
You know, back in my day, we always I wanted all the worst guys in the neighborhood on my team because I want to show how bad of them. You know what I am.
I like that thought process too.
I say I want to show. Give me all the weak people on the team. We're gonna run the court. You know, and I think a lot of times, like the mentality of a lot of the kids around here, we want to go to the top teams. We want to play on the top teams. You know, I want to go. If I'm that bad and I'm that cold, I'm gonna take the worst team in the city to the championship. And I'm gonna show y'all how bad I am. And then I'm gonna walk around here like I'm God. But you know, I think it is a shift. I mean, Deion's really gave a lot of light to the HBCUs and saying we're coming. You know, he called out the NFL, man. That man with the one toe. You know, Deion to the toes, man. Had his toes kicked up. He said it was 28 teams to show up to his combine.
Yeah.
And he named all the teams that did not show up. And the Vikings were one of them. Now, you know, we need people, man. We definitely need somebody. Anybody we can get, I mean, that's going to help us, we would be good. But we had the nerve, the audacity to say, I'm not going to show up. Like, we don't need nobody. You know, we broke. It's like we're not Hollywood. You know, Deion's doing an excellent job, and I love how a lot of these young, smart, you know, like a lot of the cats who are athletic and very academically smart and culturally aware, community aware, saying that no, we're gonna do something different. We're shutting it down. No, we don't want to hang out with you, Nick Saban. We're going over and hang out with Deion. We're going to these HBCUs, and that's just the commitment of these young folks of saying like, yeah, we got good stuff over here too. We don't have to go through these different programs. And with the training programs that you have right now, I mean, you can pick a trainer, and they can get you the type of physical training that you need. And then these NFL and NBA players investing into the schools now. I mean, now we're right where we need to be, and I'm wondering why did it take so long? I mean, that's the thing that I'm pondering. It's like we could have been doing this a long time ago. What happened? Why now we're having the investment versus throughout the whole NBA career, people are putting money back into HBCU. That just floors me, man. That shows you the distortion of the thinking, man. How the game works.
Right.
Like Florida need an extra $100 million in their scholarship funds.
Yeah, it's because that's the fear of the whole thing. Is I hope it's not trendy. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole fear, right? Because to your point, why? But I think a lot of people have. Due to what's going on in society, people are kind of opening their eyes and kind of saying, you know what, we need to be focused on our culture and our people. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that has opened eyes to a lot of people about this movement, especially within the last 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So I think now people are saying, you know what? I think we in a way we've neglected our people. We've neglected what we can do and the powers that we do have to kind of, put our people and our institutions, our learning institutions in a better place. And I think, which I'm happy for. I think it's never too late. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now I ain't gonna be negative or anything. It's never too late. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what wakes you up. You know what I'm saying? As long as you wake up.
It's about. My mom used to say, "It's about time."
Yep.
It's about time. You here now.
Yeah,
it's
we here now,
man. It's about awareness and education. A lot of times people don't know. When I went to UMES, when I went to my first year at HBCU, to be honest, man, I was ignorant to certain facts about the history of HBCUs. Now, I knew that HBCU athletes definitely in the past they used to make it to the pros. I knew that part, but at the time, growing up, because when we grow up, I don't know about y'all. I'm gonna speak for myself. I was a fan of Kentucky. I'm a fan of Carolina. We a fan of these schools. We not a fan of A&T or UMES or nobody else.
Yeah.
I mean, just being real.
Yeah,
so I liked what I saw, and I saw what had the most exposure. So I wasn't exposed to the HBCU history and the culture.
Georgetown was like the closest thing, right? Because Big John Thompson.
Exactly. Right? So now it's on us to educate our younger folks, man, about the positive aspects of just getting an education at HBCU, let alone just playing sports. It's still some things we need to clean up with the HBCUs, but as we already alluded to numerous times, the money comes in, which is starting to trickle in. I mean, obviously, some universities still working out the deficits. We got to work on that. But at this point, the movement is progressing, and we got to keep it going. So education and awareness and speaking to the history is going to be huge. So that's what this is all about for me.
It's definitely huge, and I might be wrong, but I'm he's one of the best linebackers in the game from South Carolina State that played for the Colts. He's one of the highest paid linebackers in the game. So he comes from the MEAC, which I have my own personal love for the MEAC because we were from the MEAC, but I feel like the MEAC is getting ready to be disbanded. We losing everybody. But this is one question I want to ask you two brothers, because y'all know Rodney Gibbs. I argue with him all the time. And he talks and he talks about our school, and I keep telling him it's Minnesota. The location. Like,
wow.
Like, how would this is what he told me. He said, we need to sell DC. That's 2 hours away, bro. We need to sell Ocean City. That's an hour away. Like, our location is kind of like bad, I feel like, in the midst of it.
So our location's bad?
Okay. So Wole, we just had UMES Coach Crafton on our show, head basketball coach, and what he put out there in his recruitment message to families is, if you want your kids to be focused on ball, UMES is where you need to be at, because ain't nothing else to focus on, essentially. And if I'm a parent and I'm sending my kid away, I mean, first of all, that's not necessarily the case. As we already know, UMES what it stood for at one point back in the day. I'm not gonna say that here, but I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, like, if you want to get in trouble, you can find it anywhere, man. Jay-Z, his brother, you know what I'm saying, drugs, that's on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. All that stuff exists, bro. I'm just saying, but in terms of location, it shouldn't matter, because really it's a matter of what your goals are. My man said earlier, what is your focus? What do you want to do? Do you want to own a business? What is your life? What is your the goals and the aim of your life? It matters to that point. It don't matter where you go. I mean, some of these schools like Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas, y'all ever been there? Probably not. But people send their kids there all the time and they win. He said the same thing. I kind of stole that. Anyway,
I know you just said the same thing. I know you
I
stole
did.
his line.
I did steal his line. I couldn't think of no other school, but it don't matter about the location, man. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? All it takes is for one. That's all it takes. We ain't never been to Jackson, Mississippi either, probably.
No, you know what's so wild, right? You know what's so wild about that though?
It ain't a good look.
It's not a good look. It's so wild
because we will not talk about Del State.
No, this is what I say about Eastern Shore. I will say this about Eastern Shore. It's wild because when I got there freshman year, I was like, "There's nothing here. I don't think I'm gonna stay here. There's no way I can stay here." Because it was like there's no metro buses. I ain't no car. I couldn't get around. Like I couldn't get around. But then it was like, what made it a blessing is like we isolated. We are the community. You know what I'm saying? That's what made it kind of dope. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there is a picture that, like, again, it's the community. That's why so many people even after college have been so tight. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Ray and I ain't know Ray. We both from PG County. I ain't know Ray. I never met Ray outside the shore initially. You know what I'm saying? From 1 to 12, whatever. And then in college, I meet Ray. We hit it off, and we're one of best friends. He's one of my best friends ever since. You know what I'm saying? So like that is something about that. Like finding friendships, finding all types of relations in that community, and you build it and cultivate it, and look where you are today. I mean, the shore to me is cool to be like that because it's a community in its own right. We ran pretty much. We were like that area. I guess not to knock anybody in Princess Anne. We were Princess Anne. I mean, not to knock the area, but it is what it is. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, not to. I'm not throwing any shade at Princess Anne. I'm just saying we were Princess Anne. And we had pop parties and folks, education, everything was there. You know what I'm saying? So that's what made the shore dope. And I feel like if you, like what Coach Crafton said, like there's a pitch there. If you care about ball and that's what you want to focus on, bring them to Eastern Shore. But also, my pitch would be, if you want to build a close-knit family of friends and kind of cultivate that after college, go to Eastern Shore.
Listen, and if other HBCUs blow up, we gonna blow up, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to play against Howard and Morgan and other schools that are already doing it.
Yeah, and I believe what you said, because one of my closest homeboys I've known for life, he went to Morgan. Of course, we from Baltimore. He was like, "Yo, that's the only thing I regret. You went away, and I watched you and your friends go places and do things, and then you go back to homecoming." I'm like, that's family right there. Like, those 5 years down in Princess Anne was like, wow, This is what it is. I mean, but I was on the same terms of you though, Wiley. My first year, like, damn, the liquor store closed at 7 o'clock. I gotta go home. Man.
Just the smell when you wake up make you think like, where am I? You know what I'm saying?
That smell and
smell like cows and some other stuff. But
oh my god,
again, you start to find yourself when you stick it out, and that's life in general. You can't just quit because something isn't. Vibing with you right away.
Shoot, you talking about your man coming back home and whatever. I was homesick. I was like, man, I used to hang with me and my brother used to be. We were like thick. We were like this, hanging out all the time. We would be everywhere together. And I was like, dang, I'm hanging around.
Then he brought himself down to the shore.
Huh? Then he came down. Yeah, he came down. But like initially, yeah, exactly, right. But initially, it was like. Like I was like, dang, it took me a while to get used to not having my brother around. You know what I'm saying? So it took me a while because we were just that tight. You know what I mean? We did everything together. We just pretty much did everything together.
There was the Purdue plant. The Purdue plant was down there. Yeah.
But anyway,
best chicken tenders ever, bro.
It was, man. And cheeseburgers were good too.
Dale State is checking in. Dale State is your homecoming on our level? I don't think so at this point. We had a Dale State play on our show, and he said Lincoln's was better. So,
he did say Lincoln was better. That's terrible.
Just saying, y'all might want to represent a little bit harder out here.
Oh man, it was definitely it was about we an hour, a couple minutes over, but it was something I really wanted to ask. Damn it, I didn't lost. Oh yeah. Okay, from a NBA standpoint, from a selling point, does the game this year with no LeBron in the playoffs, does the marketing go up or does it go down because he's not there?
You can't
Like,
ask
do
me.
they bring
You
him
can't
on
ask me
time?
that question. You can't ask me that question. I'm a Lakers fan, so I stopped watching basketball a little bit. So you're don't. I'm not the one to ask.
I'm just asking, like, does the ratings go up now because he's not there, or does it go down because he's not there? But you're not answering, so said or
I would.
Ray.
You want to ask me because I'm gonna say that I'm gonna give you the easy answer. So you don't want to hear me.
I'll be honest, man. I think it is going to be a decline whenever there's a shift or a change because LeBron is near the end now. When MJ was near the end, the NBA, we had Tim Duncan and that Spurs team that was pretty good. They won some chips, but the NBA just wasn't the same for a while. And then Kobe obviously helped to bring it back. Then LeBron, of course, comes along, and you got your new wave of stars, KD, all D Wade, Melo, these guys included. Now you're starting to see kind of a shift. I mean, I like Luka, I like the Suns team. It's a lot of players. Jason Tatum is dope, but I think LeBron globally is one of the more recognizable figures. So at this point, without him in the playoffs, it will hurt to a degree.
I would like to see KD, prove his point, and so we can move on to something else. I
Mhm.
mean that he could like be a leader of a team and get that team to a championship and win. I mean, I think that's the storyline. All the sports have to have that storyline. They're gonna
Yeah, that's
build
it.
it up.
Right.
It's gonna be like Kyrie and the COVID thing, and KD and his stuff. The Knicks. Oh, the Knicks in the playoff. I
Oh
don't know
no,
if
we're
they.
not talking
Oh,
about
okay.
now.
Oh, all right. They still where they're at.
Talk
But
about the Knicks.
but I think the storyline, the big storyline is KD. Will Steph Curry and them be able to pull out the West? Will they be able to come out the box, or will it be a young team that
John Morant.
pick up the reins? So it's a lot of people gonna make their money, man. They're gonna build it up. They have all these different platforms where they can build up these storylines. I mean, the Lakers. I'm sorry, man. It's
It's all
an
good.
embarrassment, man. I
They
mean,
were.
like
They were.
I can't say any more about that situation
It's
that
just terrible,
that
man.
hasn't been said already. I
It's just
mean, it's
terrible.
it's just been. I don't even know what to
The
say. You
NBA
got
is
AD.
not college, man. I'm telling you,
I
the
mean,
college is such a better product. The NCAA tournament is so much more lit than NBA playoffs, in my
It
opinion,
is,
bro.
but I will say this about the NBA, the playoffs and about
The
what you
no
have to
stars.
look for. You got first round. You talk about KD, Kyrie. There's a bunch of storylines even within that versus Boston and Jason
mhm.
Tatum and Jalen Brown. Just because Kyrie was in Boston, that's a storyline in its
Is he
own
gonna
right.
have a Sage out again?
Huh?
Is he gonna have a Sage out again in Boston?
I probably so. He probably will. Then you got and you got Steph. I mean, Steph is marketable. Like I guess if anybody can kind of LeBron not being there, a guy that you can kind of lean to kind of hold it down is in terms of getting views in the NBA playoffs, it would be the Golden State Warriors and Stephen Curry. He's marketable. It is what it is. He's Steph. He's changed the game in terms of how kids play basketball. So
I
you know,
know.
he has. It's a fact. It's a fact. He has. Every kid thinks
Every-
they can shoot 30 footers. So I mean, he's changed the game.
hey,
Mhm.
So he will be watched. Like I remember when he was started getting hot. And I used to ask kids like, you would think everybody say LeBron. I was like, who's your favorite player? Steph Curry. Steph Curry. And I was like, oh shoot, okay. There is a slight change. So there's storylines. Greek Freak trying to repeat. I mean, there are some like the one thing I'll say about the NBA. I don't think there's a lot of very highly intelligent basketball players. There are a lot of they're basketball players who are skilled, but the intelligence isn't it's the same like 80s, 90s basketball players, but the skill is better. Like I won't knock the skill is definitely better. Um, but there are so many talented dudes in hooping. Like there's so many when you just marvel at what they can do with the basketball, what they can shoot, the shots they can make. You know what I mean? So I think in terms of viewability, I mean, there'll be some teams that you have to watch. The Phoenix Suns, you know what I mean? Ray
Mhm.
mentioned I'm a big fan of Monty Williams as a head coach. I mean, their brand of
Probably the
basketball
coach of the year again.
his brand of basketball is dope because it's motion offense. You know what I'm saying? And you got a point guard who holds it down. I'm a big fan of John Morant. Like, I just think I will probably catch more John Morant games because I think that's an intelligent basketball player at the one, and he's athletic, and he's about sharing the rock. You know, he's a guy to me that can get you 30 if you wanted to, but he shares the rock. So
I think that's
but
gonna be
y'all sleeping on Clay though.
I think
mean,
it's gonna
nobody.
See, I like Clay, but I think Clay. My thing with Clay is I don't know. I think Clay will be okay he'll be the real Clay next year. I think it takes you a while to get he ain't been Clay yet though. He ain't been Clay yet. Like that Clay that goes on these crazy runs where he hits like 8 threes in a row and he has like 30 in the second quarter. He chills in the fourth third.
This year though. We've seen flashes.
I mean, Clay is not.
Not enough to draw in like the casual viewer. You know, that's what college can do. It can draw in the casual viewer who don't care a whole lot about basketball. They're like, oh, but I want to see St. Peter's balling. You know what I'm saying? But the NBA, LeBron is that dude right now. Steph may be close. I ain't going to sit there and fake, but I still think
KD there too, though, bro. KD does it too, though. Like, people love KD. Like,
KD is unstoppable.
Yeah, people love KD, bro.
Like,
basketball fans, yes, I agree with basketball fans. But a person that don't like basketball a whole lot, they like I want to see Kevin Durant so bad. No,
you know, Ray, bro. They do, bro. KD is very popular, bro. Like, very popular. The only thing that's changed because he gets hurt. When he get hurt, he goes down. He's very popular, man. He's there too.
KD will light you up, man. 7-footer shooting fadeaways.
Oh,
I wish you'd open up the game a little bit and say, I'm gonna show y'all how cold
I really am. It can be worse.
I'm gonna get in the post and I'm gonna throw 50 from the post. You know what happened to you? I'm the 80s and 90s generation.
Yeah.
So, you know, I come up out of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan say, you tell me I can't shoot threes, I'm gonna go out there and hit 8. You tell me I can't post up, I'm gonna hit the post and I'm gonna score 40 from the post. Where are those guys at? I want to see somebody say, I'll dominate every aspect of the game. Somebody grab the whistle and start reffing and stuff and coaching and get the pom-poms and I want you to do it all. Then I believe in
that's that Mamba mentality right there.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know KD can score any which way. If KD can go if he wanted to, he can get you. One thing about KD, I just want somebody to tell KD just go for it. Like, just go for it. Because he the dude.
That's not the game. That's not
he can go for it. Okay, he can go for it. Just let him do it. Just tell him to go for it. Because he'll get you. If you like watching him last season in the playoffs, when there was nobody, and what he did against Milwaukee by himself, even that one when he stepped on that 3-point line and made the 3, like what they asked that man to do in that game, what they asked for him to do, that was insane. Like, to pretty much carry that whole squad, and against a Milwaukee team when they won the championship, was stacked enough. And the Greek Freak was scared to check him. That's when you know you dead tight. The Greek Freak did not want to check him at all. Anytime folks were begging him to check him. This is one of the better defensive players in the NBA. Was scared to check Kevin Durant.
Well, he was defensive player of the year, but that's what I was expecting when I was upset. I'm like, yo, why are you not?
Check KD.
Why are you not putting him on?
Because he's scared. No, it's okay. You know when somebody don't want, you're scared. You don't want to be embarrassed. Like, that's the reason. Physically, he's the ideal person that should be checking Kevin Durant. Long arms, should be able to move. He's fluent enough. He should be checking Kevin Durant because at least you could say maybe you can bother his jumper a little bit. He is the one. The only one. He can't. He's scared. He ain't built for it.
Like Cedric said, we don't have those old school players. We don't have the Jordan stop or the Kobe stop that they named.
So Real Patterson can walk through these doors. What you talking? Who you calling out stoppers?
You know what? I'm watching a new series now on HBO Max, The Lakers.
Oh my God, it's amazing! That's amazing.
I just started. And I was like, "This is what I'm talking about. This is my last dance right here. This is what the screen all grainy and shit." Yeah, this is what I remember. You know,
that though, Wally, though, because it is great. Do you feel like this is Magic's like what he got coming out is like, yo, y'all not gonna show me in this light?
Yo, I actually thought I'm gonna be real with you. I mean, Magic's my GOAT. That's my GOAT in life. But
you don't like Michael. We know.
Yeah, I'm not a big Mike fan, but I'm a Magic fan. But the thing about, I feel like, this has made Magic look so bad in a way. Like, I didn't think Magic was this. I didn't know young Magic was like this. Magic looks more human to me. Like, he's more human to me. Because at first, obviously he put like a facade, even though, whatever, he said some things, later on in life. But like, this has been like, I was like, yo, you treated people bad, bro. Like, like you act like, but he was a real teenager though. He's a real teenager, so I mean, I get it. But I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking about Magic. I'm like, he's always kind of, what I've seen has always kind of been that polite individual, like trying to always help the next person, whatever. But as a youngster, I was like, bro, you ain't.
Come on, man. We've been in NBA locker rooms. You see,
I know, but I'm talking about young me, right? Like, this is different. I'm talking about young me.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I said. We just naive. All we know is what we see on TV.
Yeah, so young me. I was like, everything was. I had to call my brother. I was like, yo, did you watch this? Like, Magic was wilding.
Every night.
Boyfriend out on the basketball court.
Huh? What'd you say?
He was wild and Cookie boyfriend out on the basketball court.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. Like, he was dirty. Like, he had to do, and dude was like a wholesome dude. It wasn't like he wild on somebody who like, this is a wholesome church going dude. I'm like, bro, like, chill out. Like, you already said what you gonna do. You already told her that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you basically said, I don't need you in a way, indirectly, right? Dude, he got her. And he's nice to you. Like, dude ain't even try to say, I got your girl. He ain't do that. And then you out here elbowing him, like pushing him around, making him look stupid around in front of the homies.
First he pulled up in the bins. First he pulled up in the bins.
Yes.
With a velour sweatshirt with velour Oxford shirt on.
Yeah, yes. And he wasn't in balling gear. Like, what are you doing?
Shout out to Magic, man. Magic just came to A&T. The new Magic came to A&T.
The new Magic came to A&T.
We appreciate you, Magic.
But Norm Nixon put him at his place at the party, though.
He did, though. He did. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. But Magic caught me off guard with that. But that show is awesome, though. It's a great show. It is a great show.
I just started watching it, man. I was like, man, I feel a connection to this story here. I was a part of this storyline, man.
I can't wait till Magic does the the three-peat Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. I can't wait for that one. He said he was doing that one.
Oh, he's working on that?
Yeah, he's working on that one. He's working on that one. So
it's a wait. They're doing like a Last Dance type of thing, or like a show, like a movie episode type of thing.
It's gonna be he said like a Last Dance type of thing.
Okay.
With a bunch of interviews and all of that stuff for that repeat team.
Okay, that's cool. That's a good one.
Hey, he better do it right, because we know the last person who hated on Kobe, what happened to her. You know, when Gail was trying to push Lisa Leslie on, the whole rape stuff. Yeah. Man, Snoop went off. I was like, Snoop called Gail called her out her all kinds of her name. Snoop mama had to get in the middle of that.
Yeah, you gotta be right. You gotta do that right.
You better do it right.
You gotta be careful with that one.
Yeah, I think they deserve one. And just for some, like in my soul, I just think with just the Hollywoodness that the 4 years LeBron was in Miami, I think they'll probably get one.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's gonna be like the first. You know what I'm saying?
We can't do the Space Jam and do this too many times. We can get two. We can get away with doing 2 documentaries like that.
Yeah.
But when we start tapping into 3 and 4, then it becomes a LeBron Space Jam.
Well, you know,
I really dig that movie. I'm an old Space Jam. I love what Michael Jordan and the Monstars.
I ain't getting Space Jam.
Jordan just said enough. He didn't try to act. He didn't try to do anything. He's like, hey, get over here. Everybody
I like Uncle Drew. I like Uncle Drew better. You know what I'm saying?
This is exactly why Omar F's trying to shut down Love and Basketball reboot, because he's like, nah, man, leave stuff alone.
Let it go.
True, and that's why I'm on LeBron. Like, yo, leave my white man can't jump alone, yo. Like,
what?
Done.
What? He doing that?
He wants to do house party and white man can't jump. Leave it alone.
Leave it alone, bro. Leave it alone.
Who's gonna cast for Woody Harrelson? Luka. Luka Doncic, Willie Harrell.
He said Woody can play Luka.
So we get ready to roll out of here because I got to do my I be damned thing. But you know, since he's in year 19 and he's like no longer getting ready to be the face of the league, and I was watching the First Take today, and they had a whole 25 and under who can take over this torch, and they said number 1 was Luka. followed by Jason Tatum, then Ja Morant to take over this league. You know, who may be the next face of the league? Who do you guys think could be the new face of the league
We're not doing Luka now.
once LeBron hangs it up?
We can't do Luka. It's somebody else. I don't know who that person's gonna be. I mean, it's somebody who's coming through the ranks. You to take over the league, you got to be not just a great player. You got to have like marketability. People got to love you. You got to have that personality. There's not too many people out there, you know, that I've seen so far that can fit that bill. It's tons of great, like you said, it's tons of talent in the league, but it's no like, you know, those iconic game changer type guys who can kind of like hold up the NBA's image and be the face of the NBA. That's just my opinion.
I think Giannis is the closest thing we got right now.
Giannis.
I don't know about his marketability. I don't know about marketability. I like Giannis too, but I don't know about marketability. I just think that's gonna be hard. I will say this though. I think it's a blend of where you play at and your game. To be, you know, I like Ja Morant, so I would say Ja Morant, but I don't know if he can do it in Memphis.
Okay,
that's the thing. Like, I think you have to be at a certain scene to kind of have it take it up another notch. I know it sounds jacked up to say it, but it just seems like that in the NBA. It seems like you got to be the guy, and you got to be in that market too. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. Like for instance, like I guess Tim Duncan would be the outlier, but you got to be that good though. Like you got to be winning championships on a constant level to kind of do it. So if we're talking about individual play, or just kind of like running the league in terms of being a face, I could say like a Ja Morant. I like Jason Tatum's game, but I don't know, and he's in the right market. But so his game sometimes annoys me, so it's kind of hard for me to put him in that type of group because he kind of takes inconsistent shots and crap. You know who it could have been, but he keeps getting hurt. And Ray, you referenced him already. It could have been Zion, and I'm not. It's hard to hurt. You know, it could have been Zion because he was kind of a guy that they wanted to push. They wanted to push Zion, like they wanted to make him. But he got to get healthy. He got to be right though. But they wanted to push Zion, like you saw it. The league really wanted to push Zion.
Do you think Zion has the personality to hold it down?
I think he has the bubbly personality. Like, I don't know how long it carries him. I think he has a likable personality because he just seems like a likable person, right? But also, you know, if the league's behind you, that takes you a long way. You know what I'm saying? League was behind Zion. Like, they were trying to force that kid in the All-Star game. Like, even before they were trying to make him into something that I didn't think was deserved at the time. But so I just think that he would be a guy that they would like kind of market, and it may be a kid that's in the draft a couple of years from now. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that if I had to choose one, I would say Ja Morant because I see a constant improvement, little by little, in terms of being that guy. Like from where he was at to where he's at now, and people are talking about him. Like they're constantly talking about Ja. You know what I mean? So he has personality, and he is also on social media kind of trying to market himself as well. So I would say Ja Morant, but I would put the caveat and say that I'm not sure if he can be where he wants to be at in Memphis.
Okay.
Well, my problem is with this generation is nobody's doing a rap album. If you really want to be the face of the NBA.
Let me think.
Which one?
Antonio Brown, baby. You gotta get Antonio Brown.
Dave older though. He can't be the face.
Boy for the Hornets, Miles Bridges. He has a joint. He has a song.
I ain't never heard it.
But
but Shaq had a rap album. Kobe rap.
My person that
dang, you know what?
the face of the league, I believe that.
Well, Larry Bird had no rapping skills. I don't know, but he was bad. He was just a bad boy, though.
I think the face of the league can be this guy right here. First and foremost, he's under one of the most marketable persons. His own is one of the most marketable people out there ever in history, Michael Jordan. I'm going to say LaMelo Ball.
Very marketable. Very marketable.
Yeah.
Very marketable. That's he's very marketable. That I was very marketable.
20 years old.
Yeah.
He's social media.
Actually, he's Very marketable.
It's just like you said. Is it going to be Charlotte, or he's going to
You
get
know
him?
what? He's kind of outshined the whole being in Charlotte thing though. That's why I'm kind of like. He has though. He's outshined being like. I'm be real. Like he's very marketable. Like he's even marketable in Charlotte. Like he does have a. He has a bright light on him 24/7, and and people can say whatever about his pops, but his pops help bring that. Like so, he's got a light on him, man. Like he does. Now it's the game that got to match it though. Like the game got to totally match it. The game is nice. Don't get it twisted. The game is nice, but it got to match it though. It's got to match it all the way. The game is nice though. I'm not going to even play it off. It's game nice.
The game is nice, like you said, but Charlotte and being marketable in Charlotte. I just think once he turns it up, once this rookie contract is over, he turn it up in LA or New York or Chicago.
Oh, he just it goes up 10 times more. You definitely.
That's where it's going to go at.
But I will say this though, even in Charlotte though, he up there though in market. like it's like people know Melo. Like we went from being Melo. The only Melo you knew was the one that was from Baltimore. He went to Denver. You know what I'm saying? He went to New York. That's the Melo. Now you say Melo, you think. You think
LaMelo Ball.
Like you think.
LaMelo Ball, definitely.
Well, that family changed the game. We talked about like all these changes that's happening in youth sports. Real talk. Like when LeVar Ball sent LaMelo overseas instead of sending him to college. I mean, we're gonna look back on that and say that was a game changer. It's gonna make a lot of change. That's when they start talking about paying players in college. It's a game.
This is all the LeVar Ball effect.
What's that?
This is the LeVar Ball effect. Because remember, he had that little league for a short period of time that was paying those A1 prospects. And what happened? The G League said, "Nah, we're not letting you do this. We're gonna take this talent." Now you got this whole NIL rule that we spoke about earlier. So okay, LeVar, you started this effect. We just not gonna let you profit off of it.
Yeah.
You got your boys there. You still trying to amp up LiAngelo. I thought he was gonna make it. He played.
Man, they're doing LiAngelo dirty.
He played well in some.
He can't play well enough. He could be flying across the backboard. They're gonna be like, nah.
Look, man, LeVar kept it like LeVar kept it 100 of how this is going to play out, though. LeVar just said it like he roots with LiAngelo. He said that like because LiAngelo reminded him of him because he has his personality. But he said it already. He said LaMelo's the more talented one. Lonzo is still up there. Lonzo is going to help win a championship. Lonzo makes everybody better. And then he said LiAngelo is going to be the one that's kind of like it's probably the worst out of the three. So this is the one that's supposed to struggle. This is the one.
He has a flamethrower though. That's the crazy part.
I'm just saying he the one that's supposed to. This is the one that's supposed to be struggling.
I mean, but
so does everybody else.
He's the better.
I mean, it's like,
look, Michael Beasley ain't in the league. All right, it happens. All right, Michael Beasley can score like 40 sleeping, and he's not in the league. I don't judge the NBA is a whole different monster. Like I don't judge that. Like there's talent. Like my man said earlier, and I've always stated this. You know what I mean? Like. He is so right that there's so much talent in the NBA, but also I will say it depends where you play and who you play for, because certain folks will give you the opportunity to shine and do what you can do. Derard, you're a Knicks fan, right?
Yes, I am.
All right, so Jeremy Lin got an opportunity to play and get burned under D'Antoni, and he was putting up crazy numbers, right?
But that was Melo.
And look at all right, he just got an opportunity. He just got an opportunity to have the offense pretty much run through him. Like D'Antoni ran the offense through him to make him the Steve Nash of the offense.
But that was Melo when he came back.
That's what I'm saying. So, but he put up 18, 20, 30, whatever. There's talent everywhere. Just depending on what coach wants to wants to prioritize you to be that dude or to get buckets. You know what I'm saying? So you mentioned like LiAngelo, like he could be on a roster because there's some dudes I can name to you that's on an NBA roster getting burned, and really, I can say that this dude who doesn't get burned is better than that dude. For instance, people don't. What's the dude that played for Duke? Why am I not gonna go? But I'll use Beasley as an example. Beasley is better than what's the dude that Horton Tucker for the Lakers?
THT.
Who?
Beasley's way better than Horton Tucker. Like way better than Horton. That is not like as a scorer, way better than Horton Tucker. Like that's not even funny. Like it's way better. Right. But he's not in the league. It is what it. Melo, I use Melo as an example. They try to not have Melo in the league. They tried to not have Melo in the league.
I got you, but we gonna hold it right there because they just said we need a part 2 of this because we done ran over time. And I need to run this. We got a segment that I call I Be Damn where we just get text message and shit with crazy dates. And I told this story last week, but they wanted me to run this story back. So, brother, for real, you want to run this story back about what happened in California?
Kicking balls and balls and balls and balls and balls. Kicking balls and balls and balls and balls.
Oh shit, my bad. Welcome to another episode of I Be Damn. I Be Damn. So this comes from a story from California. I'm from Atlanta to California. So this brother says to me, all right, boom. So I had just moved from Cali. Just moved to Cali from Atlanta. Of course, a nigga hopped on Tinder and shit. So I matched with this cute light-skinned shorty. So we get to talking and shit. I don't even know. I didn't even think she had a deaf in her bio. But if she did, I definitely ain't read that shit. So we finally decide to link and go on a date. Mind you, we just been texting and shit. Never talked on to this point. She did mention that she couldn't hear, but I didn't pay it no mind. I'm thinking she meant she was just difficult. She was hard-headed, not actually being deaf. So we finally decide to link and go on a date. Mind you, we just been texting and shit, never talked on the phone. So she sends me her Addy to go scoop her, which was like 20 minutes away from me. So I'm driving to her spot and the roads just get dark as fuck. I'm like, no street lights or nothing. So I turn in her neighborhood and she said she was outside and I ain't see nobody. So I'm like, this bitch trying to set me up. So I'm driving around just making sure no one is following me and shit. And I'm calling her and she not picking up. I'm like, yeah, this bitch trying to set me up. So she ended up texting me a picture of where she was and she was standing and shit. I'm like, okay, I see you, but I was still on guard just in case. So she get in the car and I'm like, what's up? And she don't say shit. So I'm sitting there like, okay. So I said a little louder, hey yo, what's up? And she ain't say nothing. So immediately after that, she sent the text. So the text said, I told you I can't hear. And I'm thinking like, oh, her ass was for real. You really can't hear shit. And then my dumb ass text back like, oh damn, you was for real about that. Laughed my ass off. She like, yes, I'm deaf. And I'm like, well, damn, okay. So back to the date. This is where shit get kind of weird. We tried to go get some food, but everything was closed. So we wound up getting some fast food. So we sitting down quiet as fuck. So we started talking through text. Shit was different and weird because after I hit send, I'm just sitting here eating, waiting for my phone to vibrate. So after we finished eating, she texts saying she wanted to drink and go back to my spot. So of course, I'm like, shit. So on the way to the liquor store, I'm playing Lil Baby. And I look to the corner of my eye and I see her nodding her head and low-key dancing. I'm thinking, wait, is this bitch trolling me? Can she hear? And she texts me like, turn it up. I'm thinking, for what? You can't hear it. But she said she could feel a beat or some shit. So I turned it up, whatever. And she started going crazy, laughed my ass off. I kept my composure. So we get to the liquor store and she grabbed her favorite drink and I got some Patron. So we go back to my spot and we put on a movie. This girl start chugging. I'm like, oh shit, she lit. And I'm over here like taking shots. I feel like the bitch. So shit, I pull up some more shots and she started getting touchy and walked immediately to my room. So I already knew what time it was. So we started making out and shit, foreplay, all that good shit. She gave me some great head, by the way. My drunk ass trying to moan in sign language for her. So we start off in missionary. And after a few strokes, I could see she was trying to hold her moans in. And my head was like, nah, let that shit out. I should have never said that, cause I'ma start going harder, and then the moans came out and instantly closed my eyes pretending I ain't hear that shit. Mind you, I'm drunk. Wouldn't even know what to compare it to. Maybe like a walrus or a seal masturbating, like that shit threw me. Hold on for those who don't know what a walrus and a seal sound like. Anyway, we back. So I had to tell her to turn over and do back shots so she couldn't see my face. Her pussy was fire. Thank God, so I had to see it through. And it got me more awkward because the tone and sound kept going from high to low like a band playing. I'm like, do I slow down or keep up? I'm guessing she was trying to feel the vibrations of her moans or whatever, like a bat. But once we finished, I pretended to go to sleep because I wasn't ready for round two. After that, I had to recollect and let the liquor settle in. So a couple weeks go by, and I find out I'm blocked and shit. So I hit her up on Snap or whatever, like, damn, yo, what happened? She said, my boyfriend blocked you. I'm like, what the fuck? So a few hours go by and I get a Snap video from her and it's her nigga talking shit. This nigga's deaf too. So he talking shit and it sound like a rock in his throat because I ain't know what the fuck he was saying. I low-key felt bad because I knew he mad as fuck. I fucked this bitch and he don't know how fucked up he sound. I stopped fucking with her for a while and then a month go by and she hit me up trying to fuck again. And I'm like, damn, do I go through this again? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Moral of the story, I got to see it through. I be damn. See you next week. Oh man, that's the shit that we find. That was an awkward story, an awkward date though. But oh man, you should see the face when I'm seeing some of this stuff. But thank you for coming on, fellas. You know they want to do a part 2. We can do it again if y'all up to it.
Yeah, I'm down with it, man. Y'all good to go, man. It was a pleasure hanging out with the rookies.
All right.
Yeah, even though y'all let me share my old school stories, but that's all right. Maybe next time when I jump in, at least I got a couple punches in.
We're gonna get to it. I don't think we got nothing else on the network coming this week. No, but if you're a boxing fan, make sure you're sitting down on Saturday. We got a unification match on Saturday, Ugis versus Spence. Quick hot take for me. I feel as though Spence, you win this, there's no more ducking. You got to go see Bud. That's just my opinion.
I'm a Spence dude. I'm a Spence dude. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm a Spence dude.
Just know that I know the Akenzo family very well. I'm going to get a text from his brother and James Jones if that fight happens.
All right, cool.
And tell them where they can reach y'all at again, man, so if they want to get to talk.
Oh man, if you want to find us on Twitter, you can hit us up at Urban Sports Scene on Twitter. You see Ray and I, our personal Twitter handles. Also, we got Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Check out the Urban Sports Scene website, www.urbansportscene.com. We're also on Empire Media. Hit us up on Empire Media. You can that show is put out there by voice of the Washington Commanders, Brian Weinstein. So we work with him. So yeah, just hit us up.
And you can find us on Spotify at Colors of Relationships. on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and any of the podcast platforms. That's where we're at. We're definitely not talking about sports, people. We're talking about the real stuff about relationships and trying to kind of expand a little bit more on that nature. But I love hanging with these fellas right here, man. This is like sitting in the dorm room.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Definitely appreciate you. Definitely. I see y'all next week with first dates is Applebee's acceptable. See you next. I forgot the lady name, but I'll see you next week with that. Is Applebee's acceptable on the first date?
You got to fix my my tags because it's all jumbled up.
They gonna fix it. But
come on, man, you got to fix that. Don't do the old dude like that. You're supposed to respect your elders, man. Come on.
Look,
have glitters and all kinds of stuff coming off my stuff, man. Y'all, my stuff should have been perfect.
All right, yo,
put a little red fox behind my thing, behind my logo.
We'll definitely see y'all next week. Make sure y'all check out that fight Saturday.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, peace, man.
All right.